This morning, Donna Brown will bring us a message.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
My little munchkin voice. Let's start with prayer. I'm reading a prayer from our booklet, our little pamphlet. If you have a chance, pick one up. There's one on the table. It has prayers from every nation and every religion. Great little booklet. Deep within the still center of my being, may I find peace. Silently within the quiet of the grove, may I share peace. Gently and powerfully within the greater circle of humankind, may I radiate peace. May the peace of the goddess go in our hearts and the dance of the god enliven our days. And may we care for the earth and each other because our lives depend on it. May our intention be to empower the true light within that enables us to transform our lives and reach out to others and heal our ailing earth. And so it is. In my topic this morning, I wanted to talk about courage, but it seems like for weeks now, every time I look at something or open something, I get the word boundaries. And I'm probably not the best person to speak about boundaries because I've had a lot of boundary issues through my life. I have a problem with saying no. That's why I'm president of the board. Thank you, Evelyn. Couldn't say no. Okay, what are our personal boundaries? I'm talking about personal boundaries in a chaotic world, so we'll get to where the world's interfering in a minute. Boundaries simply are what we are and what we are not. What am I? They're also when to say yes and when to say no. They're also, on a deeper level, the ownership of the responsibilities of our soul. So that's much deeper. How we manage these boundaries affects everything in our life. They affect our personal space, our relationships to other people, spouses, children, co-workers, co-members within a church, or within any organization or group that you belong to. There's definite boundaries that have to be respected. So it's out there all day long, every moment. We're asked to create a boundary or to stand firm on a boundary, even if we don't realize it, and even more so today. Without having these boundaries, it's really hard for our soul to live up to its potential, to what true spiritual growth can be, because we're already limiting it ourselves before we get that opportunity. So it's really important to understand where your boundaries fall within each of your relationships. Today, we're asked to assess and execute and defend boundaries moment to moment. One of the big reasons for that, of course, is the internet, or the network, or our communication skills. When I was growing up as a child, we kind of knew what our boundaries were. We were given boundaries by our parents. And that's one of our flaws today. We're still living in some of those boundary belief systems that don't work any longer. Our parents gave us these boundaries, or our teachers gave us boundaries. Our ministers, when we were in other churches, gave us boundaries. And they did this with good intentions. They wanted to protect us. They wanted to help us serve the common good. I grew up in a tribal relationship with Cherokee, and we had boundaries. So we believed, we served the tribe. All of you had your own little tribes. And the way we served the tribe was with respect and kindness and sharing, and devotion to each other. And we gave without thinking, well, maybe that's not my problem. We gave. I was trained to do that. Someone needs something, you go. You don't ask questions, you don't ask for money. You don't do anything to bring attention to yourself. You're part of the tribe. And then when I left the reservation at 7 and came out into the rest of the world, I collided with everybody else's boundaries. And some people invaded my boundaries. Even today I have to think, sometimes I'm not serving humanity by jumping to save and to serve. I need to let other people find their own way. So sometimes you can help too much. And we do that a lot, especially with families. You know, we can't let that family member suffer. We can't not help this. We can't do that. So we jump in and we give up our boundaries to get attached to someone else. And those boundaries may not be respected on the other side. Okay, if you review the lives, and I've been looking at a lot of things since I've been researching boundaries, if you review the lives of a lot of the suicidal teens or a lot of the young people that are acting out, it's because they have boundary challenges with these tribal belief systems, with their tribe. Today's youth are more outspoken and they know there can be a different way. I don't have to be just like my parents. I have my own thoughts. So when they grow up in a tribal situation or a family situation where they're not allowed to think and feel and be different from their tribal people, it creates so much emotional distress and a lot of depression, and some are taking their lives because they just can't fit that mold. And it's very hard to turn them around to where they realize they don't have to fit that mold. They have to be themselves. A lot of the reason, you know, these people are doing this with good intentions. They feel, you know, they feel fear for their child. If your child's different, they're going to be bullied at school, they're not going to do this, they may not get a good job, you know, they're not accepted in the church or whatever. So there's good intentions, but still it creates stress by putting the boundaries of the tribe or the boundaries of the parent onto the child, or the boundaries of who you work with or society. And that creates so many boundary conflicts. If you, you know, can you imagine a child, and I do know a few that are actually being able to do that, a child growing up in a supported relationship with a family or with, you know, with members in their little group that allows them to be who they are, allows them to, if they want to be a musician instead of a doctor, go for it. You know, you're 15, that's what you want to do, I'll buy you a guitar, don't worry about school. You know, who says that? Recently I was watching the country music, the history of country music, which was an amazing documentary. And the one thing that stood out to me was the ones that have become the most successful were the ones that, whoops, hopefully it'll stay up there, were the ones that went against everybody and became themselves. And that's probably in all walks of life. Everyone in here is an individual. And that's amazing to me because I get to touch all your different realities and your different thoughts. We're supposed to be new thought, so we're not supposed to be guided by old thoughts. We're new people. Okay, boundary management is really hard today because of the internet. You know, every minute we're bombarded. Growing up, you know, being older and growing up when we could like get away, you could run away all day. Your parents didn't even know where you were. Well, that was nice. You could go play all day, just come home when those street lights come on, if you had street lights. We didn't, but just come home before the fire was lit, you know. So that was great. You can't do that today. It just really, it frightens me and puts fear in me that, you know, the other day I pulled over to take a phone call because you can't get away from that cell phone. It invades your boundaries every minute. So if I don't return a call real quick, I don't carry mine in my hand all the time or at home. It's out of the way. And sometimes I forget to look at it. So bear with me on that part. But I'm doing my boundary. You know, when I'm having private time, that phone's not there. But anyway, I pulled over to answer a phone call at Olive Garden. Okay, about 10 minutes later, I'm in Publix, you know, and my phone beeps, and I look at it, and it says, "How was your meal at Olive Garden?" And I'm thinking, okay, I didn't even go in. I just was in the parking lot. And I'm thinking, how creepy. They know I was at Olive Garden. Who knows I was at Olive Garden? You know, is that attached to anything else? And then for weeks now, I keep getting, excuse me, I keep getting things from Olive Garden. Season changing, hopefully. We'll get some cold weather. So we have that all day. There's nowhere we can go that some satellite or drone or something doesn't know where we are. And that's frightening for me. I like being alone. I like my alone time. You know, how can I be alone with God or with Spirit when I've got these other people in there? I've got people that think I ate at Olive Garden. You know, they didn't come by and buy anything with me. They just think I went there. So that's frightening to me, the fact that I'm monitored. You know, most of us grew up watching, we read, had to read in high school 1984, which a lot of those changes didn't happen by 1984, but the core of what happened has happened. You know, sometimes I think, you know, I watch too much science fiction, but I'll turn on the TV and I think, are they watching me? Do they know I'm sitting here eating Cheerios? You know, am I going to get Cheerios things now? You know? And this is with us, all of us, all day. Even if you don't subscribe to it, it's there. I can sit at my desk at work and I can pull up my house and I can see my house in real time. See what's going on at my house. That's good for me because I can see, you know, is there somebody in my yard, you know, did the yard guy come, you know, is there a car parked on the street, what's going on? Did I get a FedEx box, is it at my door, not stolen? And that's good for me, but who else can do that? Who else can pull up my house and watch it? I can go online and I can pull up a report and I can see the name of everybody in my community. You know, that may not be good. I shouldn't know everybody's business and where they work and how much their houses were sold for. To me, that's violating a boundary. To me. To people now in business, that's not a boundary, that's business, that's good business. I know everything about you, I can talk you into anything. That's a lot of the reasons so many elderly people are scammed. You know, people we grew up with, I didn't even lock my doors till maybe 5 years ago. Of course, I lived in Mississippi for a while. But I didn't even lock my doors. You didn't lock your door. And in my community up in Tuscaloosa that I belong to, they're still, you know, they leave their keys in the car. If someone that's part of the family comes by and needs a truck, they take the truck. Of course, they fill it up with gas and bring it back. They don't steal it. Or, you know, if someone needs food, they come in your house and get it. If someone needs some horse feed, they grab some, you know, but then they reciprocate and bring it back. So it's just an amazing all open thing. But I can't do that here. I can't do that in Malvis. You know, I'm thinking about replacing the back door because I've got French doors. They're solid glass. Is there someone in the woods behind me looking in my glass? You know, it wouldn't take 5 minutes to get in. Not too long ago, someone I felt violated my boundaries very badly. Like I said, we grew up in a time where you didn't have to worry about or protect yourself. And you could tell things. Well, this person that's a very dear, dear friend of mine, I told her I was going out of town I was going to spend 3 days in Tuscaloosa with an uncle that had been told, you know, he was dying and I wanted to see him while he was still able to talk and we could go over some things. And so, you know, I told her that in a meeting. We're in a meeting together and I said, oh, and I'm going to be in Tuscaloosa for 3 days seeing my Uncle Grady. So then the next day I look on Facebook, I'm in Tuscaloosa, and look on Facebook and it says, hope you're enjoying your trip to Tuscaloosa. Good you got 3 days away from the house. I'm thinking, oh my God, everybody knows I'm gone for 3 days away from my house and I'm in Tuscaloosa. And it upset me so bad, but she didn't realize it because everybody does that now. You know, when I was teaching in school and I had students would come to me all upset because they're teasing them about something. And it's like, well, how did they know? Well, I put it on Facebook because everybody else was putting their stuff. Well, if you put it out there, it may come back to you, you know. So young people don't understand. In some ways, you need to have some privacy and protect, you know, your boundaries. Have any of you signed up for something lately and it had like a privacy agreement you had to click at the end? I just got a KDP account and at the end it said privacy agreement and you got 5 pages to read. I actually read those. I'm anal. I will read those before I click yes on those privacy agreements. And I was thinking then about the boundaries I was writing about and I thought, privacy? All this violates my privacy because it's telling me what they're going to do with my information, what rules I have. They've set boundaries. I don't have any. They set their boundaries, but I've got to play the game if I want to sell a book on Kindle. And I think, wow, there's a few people in here, and I think surely, you know, that know that when you do that, put it out there, they have their rules. So it's everywhere. We go buy something, you know, I get I was real upset with a boundary issue when I have a Toyota. I have a 2011 Toyota, which was rated, a Camry, which was rated as the best gas mileage of any Toyota in the last 15 years. So it's kind of sought after, even though it's used. I'm gonna keep it forever. And I get 42 miles per gallon in open, and that's why I wanted that particular Camry, and I bought it used. But I was working at Eastern Shore Urgent Care, it's a public area, and I went outside to get in my car because these Toyota salesmen across the street had been trying to get me to trade that in as a used car because it's had a high value. It's dwindling now. And I found a card on my windshield saying, "You must act today," and it had the person's name. It says, "I want this car." And I'm thinking, you can't go to where I work and put something on my windshield just because you want my car. And I called the store manager, and of course everybody in there where I work were young people, and they said, "So?" And I'm thinking, no, I don't like that. Is he gonna come to my house next? Is he gonna stalk me while I'm working? What's he gonna do? Because I felt violated. And I called the manager, of the Toyota place, and he says, "Well, we do that all the time." And it's like, but we shouldn't do that all the time. That's not, to me, acceptable. That's a boundary I have. You don't touch my property. You don't follow me somewhere without permission. Don't like that. So every minute, somebody somewhere, and right now, is violating your boundaries. I can pull up everybody's phone number in here, whether it's, you say your phone numbers are, not public, but yes, they are. Everything about you. My husband, when he did finance and insurance for years, he was a financial planner, and I helped him sometimes his mailing list. He would go in and he would buy a mailing list for pennies, buy this mailing list. He could pick out 34-year-old RNs that had lived 5 years in a certain community in Fairhope, and what their income was, and what their address was, and what their phone number was, and what their birthday was. And that just baffled me. It's like, how can you do that? You can pinpoint exactly. I have books that I sell, and then I'm fixing to release a new book. So theoretically, I could pull up everybody that has bought a book in that category in the last 6 months and know everything about them. What bookstore they bought it from? Are they affiliated with any book groups? And so it would help me, and I have to think with my conscience, do I really want to know all this, or do I really just want to sell the book? What am I doing? So I have to make that decision. Am I going to set that boundary for me and just say, okay, Spirit, if they need this book, come, which is part of my belief system, or am I going to go for the all business, go for sales and target these people? So like I said, it's one of the worst times for that. We have no limits to what we hear. This week I lost PBS, which I live on PBS, but by the new digital antenna system, I even rescan my program, still no PBS, so I have PBS withdrawal, so y'all bear with me, because that's the only thing I watch, but even it sometimes can have some things that I don't like to hear about. But especially now with politics. When we were all growing up, most of us are at an age that when it was said, when Walter Cronkite said something on Channel 5 News, we believed it. It was true. It was fact. We knew it. And it wasn't evil towards someone. It was an objective opinion of this happened. Now, especially with the political scene, the last 2 political elections, we know way too much and we know everything wrong. How do we choose a candidate? Is Fox News right? Is Channel 3 right? Is a national newspaper right? And we hear things about these people, evil, hateful things that are twisted. They're not even close to truth. You can see one picture on one news channel that has a man shaking somebody's hand and one caption. The next news channel has the same picture and a different caption. Which one's true? Which one happened? So it's there with everything we see, everything we hear. And we get messages. How many people get messages on their phones you can't turn off? you know, constantly, they want to talk to me about my timeshare, they want to consolidate my credit cards, they want to pay off my student loans. We get that, and they will not stop. They just go to a different phone number. And some of mine, even recently, and I'm sure yours too, it'll come up with a phone number in Foley, like, well, I probably am calling people in Foley, so now they've rigged it to where it comes up with a number in Foley, even though it may be from South Africa. Yeah, it's just unbelievable. So I can't just freely answer my phone. So I've got to set a boundary, you know, I only answer. So if you call me, you better leave a message or I'm not calling you back, because if I don't know your number, it won't happen. Like I said, some of these boundaries, you know, we can fix. We can turn off the phones, except when we want to have calls. We can turn off the television and not watch. You know, I don't watch the news. If there's a hurricane coming, please tell me. Call me and leave a message and let me know there's a hurricane coming, because I may not know. Usually I sense the weather, but I have asthma, so I know when one's coming. So I cannot hang out with coworkers after work that I find are toxic, which happens. For the last, I guess, 7 or 8 years, I'm always the oldest person in the office. And I get left out of a lot of things. And so we didn't know you might want to go out and have drinks with us. You know, they don't include me anyway, so that's kind of an easy fix. You know, like the old woman don't want to go out at night. And they're not going to go with me to a book club or a spiritual meeting either. So it goes back and forth. So we can, as much as possible, try to go totally off the grid. But I have friends from high school and some of you guys that if I see you 5 years from now, we're going to pick up where we left off. But if you're in the younger generations and you're off Facebook for a month, they don't know you anymore. They drop you, they unfriend you. You're not friends anymore. You're out of the loop, off the grid. We don't want you. There was a movie that came out as part of the Dark Mirror series, and I didn't watch the whole series because it was frightening. But the people in the series, the only way you could continue to have food and housing and live was by how many likes you got on your social media. And it's really scary because it's theoretically very likely to happen with younger people. You know, another 30 years from now, none of us will understand how amazing they can just do things. You know, all I gotta do is, I get so aggravated with some of my family members, just ask Siri. It's like, I don't like Siri. I don't want to talk to her. I don't know what she really believes in. You know, it's like, and they make fun of me for making fun of Siri. But it's the truth. I don't want someone else handling my responsibilities and my decisions. I don't, you know, when I was teaching, we had Birmingham as our home campus, and they controlled even our heating and air conditioning in the school in Biloxi. Everything was controlled. Well, of course, Birmingham, freezing in the winter, you know, and not as hot in the summer, so that was a problem. And 2 times we got locked in the building and couldn't get out because Birmingham had a glitch and they locked all our doors because it was all control from Birmingham and we couldn't get out. One day even the guard called me from outside. The guard was locked out. We were all in, guard locked out. So I don't like that technology controlling me. And then after that we all threw a fit and finally got a master key to where at least one door would let us use a manual key and get out. It's just, and you could go into a store. If you go into Walmart and they lock down the store, you know, there you are. You're locked down. You go into a hospital and they think there's a theft of a child. You're locked down. You don't go out. So all this technology is a little too controlling. Okay, let's talk about the other side of the coin. Whose boundaries are you violating? You know, one of my pet peeves is don't call me at 3 in the morning, but I have friends, even friends my age, that will text me or call me in the middle of the night. Of course, when I get a call in the middle of the night, I think bad. No one should call me at 3 unless someone's dying or dead, you know, or an emergency I need to handle. When I grew up, most of you grew up, if you didn't call during dinner time, and you didn't call after 9 or 10 at night. It was just, and you didn't call on Sundays because that was family day. You didn't, you know, other than to just check on a loved one that couldn't come out to church or something. So Are you doing anything like that? And how are you violating any coworkers or any members on any team you're in? A lot of you are retired, but you're still, associated with different groups. Are you pushing your ideas on anyone? Are you criticizing your grandchildren or another family member, even with good intentions? And I have to watch that with my granddaughter because she's living nothing like I think she should. And I'm right? So a lot of times we project just in little words that we are offended or we don't accept a certain behavior when it's not our decision or our responsibility to accept that. Are any of you violating any of your friendships? Have you ever had friends that just clung to you and you couldn't get rid of them, but they always had emergencies and you were always called? Or have you been that friend that you just gotta call them and get involved? I've had a few friends that, I'd mentioned something the family was doing and they showed up. I know you're my friend, but, that don't mean you just come whenever, If I tell you, my son's coming over for a barbecue, I don't expect you to drive up with potato salad, but I've had that happen. We also have to be very careful with our boundaries here in the church, that we're not invading each other's spiritual boundaries by something we say. Most of us are pretty set in our beliefs, so we're not likely to have someone new walk in and then we bombard them with 5 different ways to think about things. We're just not those kind of people. But there are instances where people can be bombarded by their church members. So, based on that, let's talk about what today's definition of boundaries is. Okay, today's definition for boundaries is a breach in sexual, emotional, physical, verbal, psychological, or spiritual infringements. Anything that negates the holism of a person. So now we're getting into the spiritual realm. Most of our boundary issues are with the 5 senses. You go home, you have your set space. You have your house a certain way. All of us do. You have certain scents in your house. You have certain colors in your house. And you have to negotiate with a spouse. At least now I can just, if I want a couch, I go get it. I don't have to discuss it. So, because sometimes those discussions are fun. So I'm not having to, I have my own space, my own way of thinking, my own way of doing things, and nobody violates it. It would be hard for me to have a roommate because I like my space, and I'm anal about what's brought in and what's taken out, so I have problems with that. So now we're actually talking about managing our boundaries for our soul, because your soul is where your boundaries should come from. Not your belief system from grandparents or parents. Not what you've been told at work you have to do. Not when you have to have an older sister that delegates everything you think and say. Not from church members you bond with. Not from anyone else, but your own true soul. That's the only place our boundaries should come from to make us whole people. And people that are whole can also give back and radiate light to other people that have boundary issues. It's not being selfish, it's listening to your soul, and that's what we're supposed to do as individuals. Okay, when you have an adequate boundary system, you should feel confident, you should feel secure. How many felt secure the last week without something making you fearful or something kind of in the back there, like, well, I don't like that. How many felt secure? It should make you choose what's right for you. And that can change. What I chose 2 months ago, I might not choose today. I've grown as a person, I've learned new things, I've met new people, I've seen new ways. So I may not choose the same thing, but I can choose for me. And most of us in this room were never taught to choose for us. Because of our age and our background, we weren't taught to choose just what we want, especially women. Terry Klein was a very dear friend of mine and a great writer. And he told me one time why women didn't have bestsellers. He said men will go in the room and get their stuff, shut the door, and write. Women will leave the door cracked open a little bit just in case someone needs something. And that's very true. So it's very hard, even especially for women, to have good boundaries, because we were always in the past expected to be servants, which is better now. Not perfect, but it's better now. Okay, how do you manage getting these boundaries back, or having good boundaries? The first one is recognize that you have a violation. Some of us are so busy and there's so much going on in our lives, and so much, even if I try not to have any drama or any issues, but it just don't work. Someone will find you, something will find you and give you something to have to worry with. So recognize, be observant and think, when you're in a situation, do I really feel good here? Am I really happy being in this group, or I'm just here because they can't get anybody else to be the secretary, or they can't have anybody else bring cookies? Am I always supposed to bring cookies? Who made that my responsibility? So observe and think about, how am I feeling right now where I am? I'm talking about not just here, but in everything and every day. Am I happy in this job? Do I get to make creative decisions? Do I feel like I'm me here? Because when it feels like it's you can't help but have your heart and soul sing. When it feels like it's you, when you're in that place, that right place. Intention, you have to have an intention that you're going to monitor your boundaries. I really hate it when I see young mothers out and they're like, I saw a mother yesterday at OWAW, I went to the park, and she had 6 children, and they were pulling her all different ways, and her husband's over here ignoring her, and her sister's over there chatting on her cell phone. And I'm thinking, that poor woman has no boundaries. There's no respect for that woman. She's just so strung out. And that's fine, but she, next week she may have to go get some medication for anxiety or for depression, when all it is that these boundaries aren't set. Even in good times, you got to have these boundaries even when you're happy. So set the intention that you deserve to be happy. You deserve to have these boundaries. You're not being selfish. You deserve these boundaries. Meditation can help you. Everybody's so busy today, and it's so hard to get away from any noise. My favorite thing to do in the morning, I always get up early, is just hear a bird. How many times do we hear a bird? Some of us are good. Most of us hear birds. How many young people have heard a bird this week? Because they've never got that phone out of their ear. And they might hear a tweet when there's a phone call. They don't hear a bird. They don't see a possum. They don't think about the wind blowing. They don't hear the beach. So it's really important that you meditate and you find a place of peace to where you can shut everything out. And it takes a lot of work to not be all busy and shut everything out and meditate. Prayer, earnest, soulful prayer can make a big difference in how you set your boundaries. That's your time. Many years ago in some religions, people actually went into a closet to pray. And I need that closet. I have a room in my house that no one enters, no one touches. That's my room. My stuff's in there, no one touches it. My personal spiritual stuff. And that's where I go to meditate and pray. Every now and then I will let the cat walk through. But she better be good, because she loves me if I'm meditating and then the cat decides, I want you on your hair, or I'm going to bite your foot. So even the cat don't get to come in. So set you a space, even if it is a closet. Years ago when I had 3 little boys in a row and my life was about as hectic as it could get, I would go out and sit in the car. Just sit in the car with the door shut. Just to get away. So you can be real creative where you get away. It's hard to get away in the bathroom, they'll beat on the door, but you can find other places. And have time alone. Each week, every one of us needs a couple of hours that we are alone. We're not talking to somebody else, we're not monitoring the cell phone, at least a couple of hours. My grandparents did believe in tithing, but they also believed in tithing your time. And they believed that out of a 24-hour day, 2 hours and 40 minutes should actually go to God or to Spirit. That's very hard to do because we don't have 2 hours and 40 minutes. But you can find an hour or 30 minutes 15 minutes. But make sure, try this week to spend some time alone. Even if you go somewhere and you're just looking at stuff in a store, but try to have as little contact as possible. Sit somewhere alone. I have friends that won't go anywhere alone. And it drives me nuts. Well, you got to go with me because I just can't go. I'm not going to go down there by myself. It's like, try it. It'll be okay. There's people there when you get there. So try to find some time alone. And try to get, the most important probably is try to get all negativity and all things that don't make your heart sing either out of your life, which we can't really cut off a lot of family members or very close friends or dear church members, but try to get negativity or anything that makes you not feel secure, not feel confident, not feel happy, not feel excited about. Try to keep them to a minimum or get them out altogether. Because we're so thrown together with people all the time, we don't realize sometimes that person is toxic. So we have to be aware that that's not a good situation. And that's not helping me. That's not helping my spirit grow, or that's not helping my soul. So that's one of the other things. And in that talk about boundaries and selfishness, I'd like to talk briefly about being self-serving. It's okay to serve. It's okay to be selfless and help people. But in order to keep your soul straight and your boundaries intact, you need to set boundaries with whoever you're helping and make sure that your intention to help is to help, not to just enable. So many times we enable and we never truly help a person become the person they should be. We're just giving handouts and enabling. And sometimes that's hard to do, to just let somebody solve that problem on their own, or let somebody make a decision to change their life on their own instead of just being a crutch for the life they already have, especially if there's someone close to you. So when you're talking about serving, it's okay to serve. It's okay to give and give and give. If that's your soul's desire, if that's what your soul has placed you in a position to do it, but do it with boundaries so you don't burn out and you are actually contributing to the world. So now let's all get comfortable and let's go to meditation. Okay, in the seat you're in, relax. Place your feet solid on the ground. Take a deep breath in. Breathe out. A deep, slow breath in. Breathe out. First, we're going to set an intention. Continue breathing deeply. Bring this intention into your heart and into your being. It is time for me to set my inner strength, to remember who I am, and to own my space. Breathe in. Breathe out. Begin to relax your shoulders, your neck. Relax your knees all the way down to your feet. Relax your hands. Breathe in and out. When you breathe in peace. When you breathe out love. So peace in, love out. It is time for me to set my inner strength, to remember who I am, and to own my space. I intend to learn now to teach others how I want to be treated. Breathe in, breathe out. Focus your breathing around your heart area. And again, I'll repeat. Take this to your heart. I intend to learn now to teach others how I want to be treated. I intend now to learn how to set boundaries. A deep breath in. Relax a little bit more. Relax your shoulders. Feel your feet touching the ground. Breathe in deeply. Breathe out. Breathe in peace. Breathe out love. In this moment, we recall the definition of a boundary. A boundary simply teaches others how we want to be treated. I intend to learn now to teach others how I want to be treated. Breathe in peace, breathe out love. Breathe deeply, breathe in peace. Feel the air in the room, circle your body. Feel warmth in your heart. To set a boundary, we must regain our sense of self. Breathe in, breathe out. Do I have a clear idea of who I am and where I am in relationship to others? How do I take care of myself? Where's my space? What's okay? What's not okay in my life? Feel your neck relax, your shoulders relax even deeper. Breathe deep and reach farther down into your stomach area. Do I put others' needs before mine? Clearing the mind and allowing the statements to resonate with my deepest self. I need to take these messages to heart. Place your right hand over your heart. Breathe in deeply, breathe out. I matter. Feel that in your very soul. I matter. I am willing to take up space. I have limits and I express them. I am not violating others. I take responsibility for myself. I let others know what I am feeling. Place your hands back to your lap and relax your shoulders again. And understand that old programs can be rewritten to reflect your soul's desires. Take into your being the statement, I am worthy of respect, kindness, and love. I love myself. I understand I have a lot to learn. I am worth it. Breathe slow. Very slow and deep. See yourself with your feet solid on the ground. Uncross your legs at the ankles if they're crossed. Put your feet solid on the ground. And notice in the ground beneath you, in the center of the earth, is a golden globe, the core and the soul of the earth. It's bright and vibrating with love and light. Notice as the core light, the bright and vibrating light, creates roots that come up through the ground, roots of light that go into your feet. Feel the grounding established with your feet and this light that goes to the soul of the earth as it travels up your legs and into your chest, into your heart, with the statement, you are worthy. Feel the light go through your arms and out to your hands and up to your head. Feel your feet grounded, your entire body grounded, And visualize as the light travels to the top of your head, it goes out in a mist towards the heavens. And some of this light rains back down, and envision that around your body is a golden bubble. You're inside this golden bubble. Continue to breathe deeply while you're in your bubble. Feel confident, feel solid, feel secure, feel determined, and feel grounded to your soul's beliefs. Take a moment of breathing while in your bubble and feel if any words come to your soul, any words of a new belief, or any words of direction or guidance from your soul. Continue to breathe deeply, remembering those words, and realize you are creating your sacred space. This is your personal space boundary. In your personal space boundary, you breathe freely. You are only responsible for you. Breathe the energy of that bubble in and out. And as the bubble dissipates, feel the grounding, feel the light within, feel your soul happy and stable. And when you're ready, open your eyes and return to the room.